This painting is going to be about not being on the same page. I'm going to be painting how is it to not be on the same page, and I'll be processing my own experience of it that I had with somebody. And if you had a similar experience recently, then you can join me in processing that. Maybe we'll end on the same page. I will be painting energies here. You found yourself in my living room. Welcome. If this finds you in the right place at the right time and helps you connect the dots, then that's great. And if it doesn't, you're free to leave and come back whenever you're ready. Please use your intuition, use your discernment at any given moment. Where's my voice? I actually sat down here in meditation that I didn't plan, but it just kind of pulled me in as I came here. And I was getting the visions of, you know how in like plant medicine ceremonies there's like this long preparation before actual consumption of the plant medicine, where you have to inhale a tobacco. And that's the vision that came to me, and this actually the whole energy of preparation, of like grounding yourself before you're about to be catapulted somewhere, like very far and very out there somewhere in the space. That's kind of the energy that I'm feeling, where there's like almost a little bit of calm before the storm, and that calm is almost like there's a little bit of possessiveness over that calm, because you're like face to face with the unknown, and you don't know where it's going to take you, and how is it going to look, and how painful it's going to be, or is it going to be fun. You don't know that, and therefore the calm feels like you want to give it your all. That's kind of the energy that I'm picking up on. So if this finds you in the right place at the right time, you might be exactly in that energy where you're preparing to launch something, or preparing to catapult yourself somewhere, or preparing to just widen your perception somewhere somehow, or just land in an entirely different experience, and you know it. You know it. I don't know if that has to do anything with Aries season. But it does call me to calm the fuck down a bit. I love Aries season. I spoke about it in one of the recent paintings. I love how uncomplicated it is, and I love this movement of energy where things are just very clear and very direct. So even if you are not anything to do with Aries, anything to do with astrology or anything, I feel like even if you're completely unrelated to Aries, whatever, at this time around it seems like there's way much more clarity, and you can very easily find yourself knowing exactly where you're going, and then knowing exactly where to turn left or right and switch directions. And do that very, very rapidly, very clean-cut energy. That's what I love about Aries. And the way I see energy of the Aries season in general, since it started until now, including Aries, Mars being in Aries, which I don't know, somehow find very appealing. Appealing? I don't know, fascinating. Fascinating, definitely. The way I see energy these days is I see little bubbles of energy floating around and moving through us, all of us, constantly. Not constantly, but each of us are experiencing those little bubbles of energy in our own particular way, in a way that it's compatible with our own system. So those bubbles of energy are very, I'm gonna make one here. Yeah, very dense, very dark. They're not necessarily like dark, but yeah, they're very dense and very condensed, very like Aries energy. and they carry, it's as if they're polarized. It's like they can be very impulsive and explosive, and then that is being kind of applied to your energy body however it fits you in this particular moment in time, whenever it finds you. So that can kind of provoke you in all kinds of ways. Like if you were going straight, it can make you turn left or right. You didn't plan this, but in the moment you were like, oh no, okay, I have to switch directions. And then you switch directions. I'm not done with this actually. Or if you have any kind of fear about feeling unsafe in the world because of what's going on, then that's going to trigger you in this, and then you're going to explode about this. Or if there is anything related to anything that is kind of unresolved and full of friction, then this energy kind of comes like a little bomb and just activates it out of proportion. And it's just, it creates a mess, it creates destruction, it creates conflict that is either like recognized out there on the planet because it's there, or it also, it takes place within your own field. It's like you can find yourself conflicted to the point of destruction within yourself. Like, I want this, oh no, I don't want this. And going back and forth almost like in a very rapid way, in a way that you kind of, you didn't plan this, but that's just kind of how it made you move. And as you move and change directions, you end up either hurting yourself or hurting people around you, totally not intentionally, totally by accident. And that's totally Aries energy of like moving like a fly, like in all possible directions and ruining everything around you. And then being like, oh, did I do that? I'm sorry. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting from this, like little bubbles. And what I get from them, that's my hair. What I get from them is that you can't really control that energy, you can't really structure it, you can't really do much with it except change and chaos, which doesn't necessarily need to be negative. It can be positive and it can be very refreshing. I think in the last painting when I spoke about Aries energy, it was more in this like, oh, what a breath of fresh air to have something that moves rapidly, clearly, and comes with a sense of, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going, and let's go. This is more like on the dark side, but it doesn't have to be a dark side of it. Not at all. You just kind of have to let it move through you, not let it stop inside of your body, not create identities, not announce problems and entertain yourself with them for longer than it expires. Just let it move through you. Just let it come, let it go. It's kind of, it's the energy that needs to process itself at this point in time. And we are just instruments that are processing that energy. And once when it's processed, it moves away. It changes, it transforms, it keeps going, it keeps flowing. And I see it moving quite rapidly. So as it comes, it might stay for, I don't know, a minute, a day, 2 days, and then it goes away. But as it goes away, or as you go away, because if you do have this ability that is quite contradicting to the nature of this energy, and that is to have skill and ability and patience, to see that energy for what it is and let it pass and let it play out without necessarily playing into the chaos that it actually brings to the table, then you can kind of not be sucked into that black hole, but allow it space. And as you allow it space, there is way much more space than just that black one. It's like then you see that each black bubble that comes with that energy kind of has like an empty space around it that allows you to gain clarity, see it from different perspective. It allows you space, peace, and grace in contact with it. It's not fully separate from this. It's like this is the epicenter of it, and then you also have field around it that is kind of activated by this. It's kind of like an atom, or that picture of an atom. It's like you have the center and then you have like a space around it. And so that's kind of what I'm saying, activated. And the fun thing about it is that as you start removing yourself and you spend some time being away from it, you realize at some point that it has a concentric circle around it, which means like this one black bubble is kind of contained in one bigger bubble, and that bigger bubble kind of gives you space and clarity and perspectives and place where you can actually think before you turn in another direction. Do you really want to turn this in the other direction? And if so, why? What drives your idea of turning directions or changing directions? I don't know what I'm saying there. Like you get a chance to see like what is actually driving you. You don't get to just impulsively drive, but you get to see like what's going on in the background. You get an opportunity to see that, and then you stay in that space for a little bit, and then you realize that there is actually like a greater circle at play. And when you realize that there is a greater circle, you might come to the point of thinking like, okay, well, now I realize that I've gained some peace and some clarity, and I've gained some sense of direction. Now I know why I want what I want and why I don't want what I don't want. Cool, good. So I'm done, right? But you don't have to be done. And if you are not fully done, if you just keep being in this energy and keep cultivating it without necessarily placing expectations on it, but just be present with it. It's kind of like the idea of meditate for 1 hour, and then when 1 hour is done, you are allowed to keep being in the meditation. Even if you don't have like a motive of why would you, but just keep being, because why wouldn't you? And if you do so, then you realize that this circle actually widens, and it's more than a circle. It's more like like this. And it's this space. This is also not a definite space. Like it kind of keeps widening itself. Like the more you remain in that space, the more clarity you gain, the more you see things from different perspectives. Even if you reach the point of I've seen it all, now I know everything, now I'm done, there is always more. And just you can at least have a little bit of openness of, okay, well, let's see what else is there. Maybe I figure out something else. And then you do. By the end of the day, you do. And if you didn't notice that space yourself, it's available to you. I'm presenting it to you now. I want to talk about not being on the same page. Experience that I just had a couple of days ago. Somebody asked me to do a tarot reading for them. And I absolutely love doing tarot readings, so if you're looking for one, my links are in the description. So I went to meet that person to give them a tarot reading. And that person asked me, it didn't ask me anything specific, but they expected very, very specific answers from my reading. They wanted to know exactly what time, where, and how they're going to meet their partner, things like that. And I don't read tarot like this. I rather see the energies that are reflected with the cards. I translate them to you so that you can understand them yourself, so that you can see what I see. And then I reflect that back to you, just like a mirror would, so that you can introspect yourself, so that you can organize yourself internally and see which energy is actually leading you, or is it leading you to where you want to go or not, so that you can then reorganize yourself and make different choices, or honor the choices that you already wanted to make. It's more for your introspection rather than for me deciding what's going to happen in the future and then you believing in this. Because I do hold you, if I'm giving you a tarot reading or energy reading of any kind, through painting or tarot cards, irrelevant, I'm holding you responsible for your choices, not myself. I can help you get there, but I'm not going to make a decision for you. And I could. It would be very easy for me. It would be super easy for me, but that's just not how I work, because I honor your integrity. And that's not the paradigm within which that person operated. He wanted me to require him to do no work on his part, no introspection, no accountability, no responsibility. He wanted me to tell him exactly what's going to happen, when and how. Nothing more, nothing less. And I couldn't do that. I didn't want to do that. And that was a little bit like, it was kind of like, it was like a mutual realization that finding a tarot reader that is actually good for you is kind of like finding a therapist, and finding a therapist is kind of like finding a partner. Not everybody can just do it for you. And there was a little bit of disappointment on his end, I noticed immediately, and I didn't even have to finish the reading. I had cards on the table. I started explaining them. But when I started talking about conscious mind, subconscious mind, introspection, this energy, that energy, alignment, and all these things, this person was just like he crossed his legs like this, and he looked at me. I was like, what are you talking about? He was totally not receptive to what I was offering. He was totally not understanding. We were totally not speaking the same language. And there was no need for me to finish the reading. So in the middle of the sentence, I noticed that he's not having anything of what I'm saying. So I literally just picked up the cards off the table and I put them back into my bag. And he didn't try to stop me. He didn't. He thanked me for my time. I thanked him for his time too. And we had to agree to disagree. That we're just not a match. Not at all. And as I said, there was a dash of disappointment in his eyes, because not just that he wanted me to predict his future and tell him exactly when and where is he going to meet his wife, but there was also a little bit like a low-key expectation that perhaps me is going to be his wife. And it turned out that we're totally not a match when it comes to those kind of things. On my side, I was wondering for a second, how the hell did we even manage to find ourselves in the same space at the same time? Isn't there supposed to be some universal law that prevents this kind of mismatched people finding themselves in the same space at the same time, looking at one another and wondering, like, why are we here? Yeah. And it was in this moment that I noticed how there was like a field opened up in my awareness where there was all kind of like mental noise that was available to me in that moment, where I could have put myself into this thought forms of thinking all kind of conclusions about men, about patriarchal expectations, about awakened people versus non-awakened people, about men versus women, about green flags, red flags, about dating scene and situationships in the first place. Everything was there available to me, but I decided not to think any of that. I reserved my right to enjoy myself, to have a good day, to appreciate being in that space, in that time, looking at somebody who is totally not on the same page with me, and just appreciating it as exactly as it is. Realizing that this person, even if I would give my best explanations of what does it mean to what is conscious mind versus subconscious mind, what does it mean to integrate that aspect of yourself, what does it mean that you have aspects of yourself, if I would have explained anything, this person wouldn't change. Not at all. Probably never will. Not in this lifetime, not in the next lifetime. And so I looked at somebody who is like a completely different river of life. Something I can barely identify myself with. But still appreciating seeing it. Without me needing to validate it that I'm right or that I'm better. And what I also noticed, what was beautiful, was he also didn't have any kind of need to be validated himself. We're just two different beings sitting across of one another, acknowledging each other's differences. And it was shown to me that this type of encounters, when you find yourself being in a space and time and with somebody, and then you're like, what brought us here? Like, how the hell are we supposed to be in the same space at the same time? And you know, like, this is not a first encounter. You had it, I had it as well, so many times. I was shown that it's exactly those encounters that are here to widen your perception, widen your cosmic awareness. Not in terms of, hey, there are people who are not on the same page with you, because we know that. We're not here on the planet since yesterday. But to give you an opportunity to recognize yourself in another form, even if it's completely 100% different than yours. Even if it's something that most of the people like would reject because it's so unknown to them. But what it gives you an opportunity when it puts you in this kind of position is to show you that it's the same life force that keeps you and them alive, that is just demonstrating itself through a different form. To be seen by you, and for you to be seen by something else that is completely different. And when you land in that space, like all of those mental chatter of you versus them versus you, like being pitted against one another and talking about how you need to change, or how they need to change, or how we all need to change and get better and better version of ourselves, and oh, look at us now versus where we've been like 5 years ago, and all this kind of stuff. It just kind of, it's like it's in the periphery, it's there because it's in the air of people, of the planet. But it stops taking energy from you. You stop leaking your energy into conflict narratives. You stop outsourcing your own life force into hate that drains you. and you regain the right to enjoy yourself, to enjoy the scenery of your life. Where is that place where you actually met that person? That time of the day that you get to spend with them. The shape that they're coming in. The conversation that you're now having that you know you're not going to have again. If anything, like, if that's a little bit like far-fetched, it also just gives you opportunity to be totally okay with the fact that not everybody is seeing the world in the same way that you do, and that's okay. To be okay with the fact that people are just not on the same page with you. And if you are right now in the same frequency, or if you had similar experience recently, and if you're still sorting your way through it, and hopefully you did not have to contaminate yourself with all kind of hate narratives out there on the planet. If you are in this space, I feel like there is like an energy calibration happening in a triangular form like this. And what I'm seeing on these corners of the triangle is, on one corner there's this, for the lack of a better word, naivety. But I wouldn't even call it naivety, maybe like childish openness. Innocence. That if you see the world in one particular way, if you experience life in one particular way, then everybody else will do the same. If you just, I don't know, explain a bit more, or if you just invite them to stand where you are standing so that they can have the same perspective that you have, then they will understand what you understand. So that's on one corner of the triangle. On another corner of the triangle is that energy that sounds like, you will remember me someday, you will remember what I said. I don't know, it's a very volcanic thing to say. I remember my mom sounding like this long ago. But it's basically that need that comes from ego, where you're like, I'm always right, I know what I'm talking about, you will remember me someday. This need that somebody else will go out of their lane to meet you where you are without you being willing to be wrong. And it's a bit toxic. It's a bit toxic. I'm gonna call it out. Like, it's toxic as fuck. That need that somebody will eventually change and come to the same viewpoint where you are standing. Why would they? Why would they have to? I'm seeing that energy playing out a lot in the world of tarot readings online, god damn it. I think that's a really good place to say god damn it. When you have this situationship of you want something from somebody and they couldn't be more misaligned to give you what you want, and they recognize that in one way or another, consciously or subconsciously, and they remove themselves. But as they remove themselves and give you a chance to realize that they're not the match for what is it that you want, there comes a tarot reading that tells you they'll be back someday, they will change their mind, and then you will be proven right and they'll be wrong and sorry. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. If you've spent years of your life being in this lands, then you also know that they didn't. And they don't have to. And sometimes it's absolutely the best that they didn't. And then there is also this third corner of this triangle, which is remaining in your integrity by realizing who you are, where you're standing, what is it that you bring to the table, what's your value, and then recognizing exactly the same for the other person, where they're standing, what's their value, what are they bringing to the table. And it might be that they're completely different, and you're completely different, but it's also about remaining in your own lane. If they don't respect what you bring to the table and you don't like what they're bringing to the table, you recognize that you like what you bring to the table, and they recognize for themselves that they like what they bring to the table, or at least what they need and want. And each of you remains in your own lane, in your own right. And then from that space, like when you give yourself the recognition that the other person didn't give you, you even end up a little bit like having a little bit more than enough for yourself, so that you can realize that if the other person also didn't leave their own lane, just like you didn't leave your lane to accommodate them, to bridge that gap of differentiation, of difference between the two of you, not being on the same page, and just allow that, yeah, you're not on the same page. You like you, they like themselves, cool, we're different, that's it. No need to try to become like one another in order to make us feel less uncomfortable. When you fully stay on your side, you realize that you can actually respect that they also stay on their side. And then they also respect that you stay on your side. And that's pretty much how my meeting with this person ended. We acknowledged each other's differences that were just unbindable to us. And it was really beautiful how, like, we were so not on the same page, we were so not speaking the same language, that in the end, he told me, Dolores, I have never met a person like you. I've never met a woman like you. I've never met, I don't know what to make out of you. And he tried to describe me and my character and how he experienced me through this reading, and I realized through the way that he was describing me that he really doesn't have vocabulary. We're really not having the same language in common. Yes, we did speak English and German, but still, when it comes to meaning, semantics, he didn't have words to put on how he experienced me, but he did manage in his own unique way to see me as different than what he expected and different than himself, and he wasn't wrong. That's exactly how I saw him as well. Different value system, different standard of living, different mindset, different paradigms, different mental paradigms, different spiritual paradigms, different life path, different everything. And we respected each other in each other's differences. So in the end, it ended up being very pleasant experience. But it wouldn't be if me or he even, if we would be drawn to the judgments that were available to us. Now, how do you really know that? Because like, now when I'm speaking about like this widening of cosmic awareness, it's like, and that idea that we're all the same life force moving through different forms can, to some of you it can sound like, yeah, I know, we're all one, whatever, but what about real things? Now here's the thing, like, how do you really know that you really sink in that realization? And this is kind of the opportunity of this whole situation, is that once when you really sink into seeing literally everybody around you, people that you like, people that you don't like, people that you're close with, people that you don't know that even exist, everything and everybody as the same life force moving in a different form. And when you really connect with that, and when you're really in sync with that, then all this mental chatters and narratives and Instagrammable thoughts that put you in a position of you versus them, and you versus yourself from the past, and you versus the world, all of that just kind of loses its grip and gives you more space to enjoy yourself. and be present, and not having to fight and defend yourself, and not having to be angry and hateful. It's kind of like all of those thoughts that are circling around are very, I'm gonna call them Instagrammable, are like this black energy that is circling around, and it just kind of wants to move through you. You can just let it pass, but you have to interact with it. And as you don't, you end up being in this space of connectivity, where you are in this empty field, where you have more clarity and you see the bigger picture of things. And then you come in contact with something that is completely different colors, completely different forms, completely different texture, completely different shape. And then you get to experience the interconnectedness, and how even that which is entirely different than you is a part of you. And you're a part of it too, in its differences. Thank you for being here. If you want to support my work, you can best do so by getting your own personal painting. You can connect with your energy and make a painting out of it, so that it becomes a portal to you, to your future you, to your higher self, to your past you, to something that you want to remember or something that you want to achieve. Or it can become a mirror to you, so that you can read your own energy across time and space. It's absolutely my favorite thing to do, so I would totally recommend you that. And if you want that, the link is in the description. Other than that, thank you for being here, thank you for liking and subscribing, because of course, I'm repeating myself just like everybody else on the internet. It helps me to reach people that actually benefit from being here.